when it comes to average quarterly release of the new episode of Bizarre Balance Bonanza starring 3 people and a potted plant, forming what Arena calls Balance Team, none ever expects anything more than astounding disappointment. This episode, however, is one of those rare few that subvert our grim expectations. Immediately from the get-go, Arena nerds open their usual shaboingery with a great idea of reducing barrier cap from 50 to 25% of target's max health. The only reason why this change isn't perfect is because they plan it to be World v World exclusive. There are 30 plus K health barrier spam builds in PvP as well. Please make this change affect both competitive game modes. Second in line are Relic changes to Flock and Reverse, putting them roughly in the spot they should be from the get-go. Here I want to pause for a little and ask everyone why Relic of Stormsinger and Akeem received no adjustments. Stormsinger statistically deals between 1.7 and 2.5k damage on 3-second cooldown, which means it grants you damage reward you'd get from any 10% damage increase Relic for dealing between 17 and 25k damage, which means for fully killing your target every 3 seconds. Stormsinger needs downward adjustment now of at least 33% of its base damage and scaling. Akeem, on the other hand, is just toxic and not fun to deal with, and makes a weapon which doesn't deal any condition damage in its entire toolset into Warrior's best condi weapon by a long shot, which is stupid. Not to mention, confusion itself is a poorly realized concept, as counterplay to it is not doing anything, which is also stupid. Address Stormsinger, Akeem and Confusion, and we're golden. Coming to class-specific changes, we open with nerfs to Elementalist Sustain in PvP and World v World by increasing the cooldown of Water Dagger 3 in both modes, Frost Aura Transformation in World v World only, and Water Dagger 5 in PvP only, meaning Ellie can blast water fields or transmute Frost Aura and cleanse himself less often. Also, barrier from entering Elf was reduced in PvP. There are multitude of PvE exclusive damage buffs to Septa and one to Air Dagger 4. Functionality improves to Orhon, spear buffs for PvP and World v World, as well as minor catalyst nerfs, giving him less might and shorter boon duration in PvE, as well as longer cooldowns on Spectacular Sphere in PvP, counteracted somewhat by Staunch Aura's stability, going up to second and a half. And of course, less Vigor in World v World, and to top it off, Persisting Flames now grants its effect on applying Burning as well, and requires half the stacks to cap out. Overall, pretty good changes. I'm still rather convinced Condi and support builds will need further downward adjustments to their survivability, but that honestly should be done across the board by just reducing protection and resolution damage reduction to 25% in versus modes. Other than that, Persisting Flames will now be pretty much permanently capped, no matter what, so expect further adjustments. Anyhow, NG Spear gets a change I cannot grasp, as Spear 2, I quote, has been condensed into single dash. All I can say is that it's probably going to make the thing a little more reliable, but we'll see on 11th. Lightning Rod gets cooldown nerf, and Rolling Skies gets slightly bigger hitbox. Shortbow 2 and 4 get nerfs in World v World only, with less might and barrier, as well as resolution instead of protection on skill 4's chain reaction. Comeback Cure and Bulwark Gyro are both nerfed in World v World, with less regen duration and less barrier overall. Hollow's Hardlight Arena no longer scales its duration with hit, but now has full 6 seconds all the time, on top of which it grants barrier to users over 50% hit. Hit Therapy now heals for marginally more, Crapper's Kinetic Accelerators activate on wheel finishes too, so you can grant quickness in PvE with Hammer 2 and Shredder Gyro, and finally Crisis Zone on Mechanist no longer grants Alacrity in World v World. Also, I forgot to mention Elixir Gun 2 immobilizes first target hit, and Elixir Gun 4 does more damage on initial hit. Overall, I'm content with Engineer's changes. Sure, everything other than Grenade Kit is still going to be absent from competitive modes, but that's going to be the case until they remove Grenade Kit. I'm just happy Engies are getting any improvements. They desperately need those. and Guardian finally gets well-deserved damage nerfs. To Hammer, for some reason. Like it's not Spear Stonesinger damage combined with Spear's goofy shot animations that goes over the rails. And like it's not the absolute boon vomit that's the core of all Guardian-related issues. Fortunately, Spear gets some cooldown reduced, so that Willy won't be able to engage on you 4th time within 30 seconds after freaking up previous 3 engages. Dragon Hunter gets PvE buffs, Firebrand gets PvP buffs, as far as I'm concerned those don't change much, and Willbender gets World Reward nerfs. Virtue cooldown nerfs are impactful, or rather would be if renewed focus didn't exist, as in practice those nerfs will kick in against most Willbenders after 2nd rotation of their skills, and still, nerfs are nerfs, and finally Willy mains would be punished for mucking up twice. Unfortunately, those changes are World Reward only. Those should be applied to PvP as well. Mesmer's changes open up with PvE buffs, to sword, and nerfs to dagger and spear damage. Illusion of Life now properly removes Barrier and has longer cooldown in World Reward. Illusionary Defense now grants protection on Shatter 2, not all of Shatters, but has longer prot duration overall. World Reward nerfs entail shorter resistance from Mental Defense, and I'm pretty sure every source of alacrity Mesmer has was nerfed in World Reward. One Mirage PvE buff and few Virtuoso changes. Specifically Bladesong 1 nerf in PvP, Bladesong 5 meaningless buff for PvP, 1000 Cuts hitbox adjustment, Rain of Swords damage buff, and PvE damage nerfs. Nothing that would address 1200 range burst combo of stealth, nothing that would address invul and evade spam, nothing that would address spear AoE, nothing that would address animationless 1200 range CC that doesn't break stealth. Arena nerds, you can do better. Even I, your self-proclaimed biggest hater, believes you can do better. So please, do better. Necro being next in line opens up with great change, of soul shards doing 20% instead of 50% more damage and healing against targets under half health. So the difference between being half health and being dead against Spear Necro is slightly more noticeable. On the other hand, the difference between being full health and being dead lowers, with extirpate damage going up in PvP. More than that, Sword 3 Velocity is getting nerfed, and recast will cost more HP. I have no idea what exactly they mean by Velocity being nerfed. All that I know is this skill has 450 range stated on the tooltip, but moves you 600 units, which you can easily check by putting any well on the ground and jumping over it. With 240 radius, distance across the well is 480 units, and we easily can leap more than that. That's not 450, ArenaNet. Please fix. More than that, Greatsword receives hitbox buffs in all its game modes, and compensation cooldown nerfs in World Reward only. Scepter, Well of Suffering, and Spiteful Spirit are buffed in World Reward. Overflowing Thirst will now make dagger skills grant AoE lifesteal. Reaper Shroud 5 will now do damage in World Reward, and Scourge gets cooldown nerfs to its most prominent sources of barrier in World Reward as well. Ranger gets multiple unnecessary buffs to its PvP performance. Its current problem is that it is soft countered by almost everything in the meta, and the same specs do its role better. Call down its counters and it will shine again. On the other hand, Spear PvE buffs are very welcome, and there's a plenty of them, with almost every skill either doing more damage or having shorter cooldown. Frost Spirit grants less resistance in World Reward, but you can now swap downed pets faster in the same mode. Farsighted will grant more damage in World Reward, but Druid loses Might Generation in Celestial form and from Grace of the Land in World Reward as well. On the other hand, Eclipse now grants extra Celestial Juice, but Glyph of Stars also has longer cooldown in World Reward. Untamed's Exploding Spores will now strip 1 boon per enemy hit, Blinding Outburst will grant more damage in World Reward, and so will Vow of the Untamed. Natural Fortitude grants only PvP Untamed specific buff, with 700 more damage per ambush hit. Revenant gets Spear 3 and 4 cooldown nerfs, and loses ammo from Mace 3 in PvP. However, Staff 2 and Sword Auto Chain will do more power damage in the same mode. Dwarf Road, Ventari Bubble, and Malik's Standbreak are all nerfed in World Reward, but Shiro is buffed in the same mode. Herald loses damage in PvE, Renegade loses Alacrity in World v World but gains damage in PvE, while Vindicator's Amnesty of Xingjiang will no longer affect allies, but Energy Meld still will. Thief gets multiple nerfs to initiative costs, initiative restoration and cooldowns, aiming to reduce its solo roaming power in World v World across all 3 specs. They cut into everything: Spectre's solo damage, pistol stealth access, rifle mobility, shadow step cooldown, and initiative gain on entering stealth. On the other hand, Support Spectre gets multiple buffs, with more Torment on skills 1 and 2 in Shroud, Thrill of Crime and Bountiful Theft now working off of using Siphon on allies, Traversing Dusk granting more resistance, Shallow Grave now cleanses AoE around initial target, and effects of Shade Step have been baked into Shroud skills themselves. I'm actually feeling tempted to try Support Spectre out after this patch. It seems similar to Heal Warrior in the prospect of jumping at whoever needs healing, and that goofy shite is right up my alley. And last but not least, of course, Warrior changes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. Rifle got tone of quality of life. Explosive Shell now hits in a circular AoE around initial target. Brutal Shot will fire during roll animation, not after. Rifle Butt now restores ammo without need for hitting a target, but will reduce its own cooldown on successful hit. It will also reset Burst cooldown. Kill Shot will deal extra damage against foes below 50% HP. Banner of Tactics grants less resistance in World v World, nobody cares. Rampage has longer cooldown in PvE but does more damage. Dual Wielding attack speed will now stack with Quickness and Berserk speed passive, and critting while dual wielding will heal you, and that healing will be increased if enemy is bleeding. Ladies and gentlemen, we can confirm that CMC logged onto his Warrior alt at least once this past 3 months. Jokes aside, we also see more PvE damage for Condizak in Longbow and Sword Primal Bursts, as well as Rage Duration Extension on Rage skill use being added to Last Blaze. Furthermore, Arena nerds remembered meditations exist, so now Natural Healing will no longer yoink your boons but won't cleanse either, and has shorter cast time, so it's now just a big heal. Imminent Threat will give you Barrier for every 4 taunt. Rake Enchantments and Golden Nope will deal more damage in World v World, with the latter also lasting 1 second longer. Gunsaber will deal more damage in PvE, and Daring Dragon no longer applies Alacrity in World v World. Also, Summon Runes are back in form of relics. In total, patch is pretty good. Nerfs to overperformance could be a little more heavy-handed, and there's still a significant portion of manure that wasn't addressed and still keeps colliding into air circulation device, such as Stormsinger and Akim relics, mobility creep, Boon Vomit on classes like Willy, and plethora of bugs that are probably going to stay with us until Guild Wars 3. But so long our game is pushed into the direction of fun, I am happy. And with those rifle changes, oh, it's time to put the fear of God into hearts of those Willy mains. You're in our jungle now, and trees just started speaking warrior. Good luck. You'll need it. Crapface out.